In this video, we're going to show you how to sign up to start using SwiftVisit, as well as logging in to use the software. Sign up is just a one-time thing that you have to do in the beginning. First, you'll want to open your web browser and go to beta.swiftvisit.com. Enter that in your browser and hit enter. You'll get to the SwiftVisit introduction page here, and you'll see right here is a sign up button. So again, you'll do this just one time when you're signing up. Click the sign up button and then put in the email address of your practice or that your office manager uses, some work email address that you will use then for logging into SwiftVisit. You'll have a chance later to set up a username that you can use instead of the email address if you want to when you log in. I'm just going to use one of my email addresses here. And then your password has to be at least 8 characters. Once you log into SwiftVisit, it does allow you to stay logged in for quite a period of time, but you'll want to make sure to write down your password again and the email address that you're using here as you register. Again, make it 8 characters at least minimum length, and up to 128 characters, so you can use a phrase if you want to for more security. The name of the practice is what's going to be used when text messages get sent to your patients and so forth, so you'll want to use a name of the practice that they will understand. I'm just going to make up a name here. The main office phone number. This is very important. This is the number that your patients will be calling if they, if for example you don't use the Weave software. Weave lets us communicate via text message, or allows you to contact the patient back and forth using text messaging. But otherwise, this is the number that the patient will call into once they are have expressed interest in an open appointment. So use the office number that your main office number that patients typically call in on. I'm going to put my own number here. You don't have to put hyphens in, just put the number, the first 3 area code, and then your phone number, and then click on register. Okay, so you'll see thanks for signing up, and you can go ahead at this point if you want to pick a username. You don't have to, but it's helpful for logging in. So you might have a shortened abbreviation of the person that typically logs in, like I'll put C. Palmer here, or you can just put somebody's first name, whatever you want to put there. And this is another way besides the email address to use for the username when you log in. So I'll go ahead and put the username in and hit save. And now the next thing I want to do is go here. There's settings that you can set, and I'll show you over on the left here this link, update email, password, and practice information. I can click on that, go ahead and do that. We've got the name of the practice you can change again. There is your phone number preceded by a +1, which is necessary. And here's where you might want to make some changes. Patient contact delay. So this is a case where if you want to give a single patient, or the first patient contacted, for example, several minutes to respond to you before SwiftVisit reaches out to the next possible patient, you can put the number of minutes in between here. If you want SwiftVisit to contact patients as quickly as possible, then put 1 in here for 1 minute. So then it will reach out to a patient, and each minute it'll reach out to a new patient that fits the qualifications for the appointment availability preferences they have set, and I'll show you that later. So you might want to put this to 1 minute if you want to contact patients as quickly as possible. If you want to give patients more time to respond before you connect to the next patient, so there's not too many patients that might want to respond, and then you have to, SwiftVisit needs to tell them that the appointment's already been taken, for example, then you could put maybe 5 minutes or 10 minutes or something like that. But I'm going to put 1 minute here, which means, again, it'll send out appointment notification, appointment availability text to one patient a minute. And as soon as a patient responds and they call the office, you fill the appointment, SwiftVisit will then stop sending patients the availability since you've filled that appointment. So I'm going to put 1 here. Under appointment scheduling time increment, basically this means some dental offices might schedule patients on every 10 minutes. So they might have a 10 after and a 20 after and a 40 after the hour, that kind of thing. In that case, they'll probably want to put a 10 here for every 10-minute increment. If you schedule people only on the hour, then what you could do is you could put 60 in here if they're always only scheduled on the hour. Or if there maybe you have some on the half hour, we could put 30 here. I'm going to go ahead and just put 30 minutes, which means I would be able to schedule patients on the hour and then on the half hour. I'll put that there. This setting, where it comes in handy is that once you enter an appointment time, it'll only allow you to put in the hour, in this case the hour, and on the half hour. And then it gives you less options, so it's easier to pick your appointment time. Whereas if you put like 5 here, it's going to make you choose, 8:05 a.m. or 8:10 a.m. or 8:15, and it gives you many more choices. But then because there's so many choices, it's a little more maybe frustrating to pick the actual time. So you can always go back and change this, but I'll just put 30 minutes in there. If you do use Weave software, checking this box allows you to actually, SwiftVisit will contact you via your Weave text, your main office number, which Weave is connected to, and it just allows more flexibility if you are using Weave. So if you do use Weave, I typically recommend checking this box. If you don't, just leave it unchecked. We already had entered our office email address, and we're not changing the password, so I'm just going to hit save. Oops, I forgot that you do have to put your existing password in here. I'll put it back in and then hit save. Okay, that's it for actually signing in and changing the preferences. You might want to change it first. When you did sign in, I, as the developer, received a notification, and there's one thing I have to do. I actually assign a phone number to you that SwiftVisit uses to text patients and to allow the communications back and forth between patients and your office. So that's one thing that I have to manually set up. Once I do that, then you are all set to use SwiftVisit, and I'll show you how to log in here shortly. Okay, now that you've registered, we're going to look at how to actually use SwiftVisit. So I'm logged in. I'm going to log back out just to show you what it's like to log in. So over on the right here, you see account. I'm going to go ahead and log out. So if you go to SwiftVisit.com and you're not logged in, you can go ahead and do that. So I'm going to put my username in here that I used when I registered, and put in my password, and I'll go ahead and sign in. So you can see my practice name, office phone number, email address that I used when I registered. So the three main parts of SwiftVisit are entering patients into the short call list, entering open appointments, and contacting patients about those open appointments. So the first thing we want to do is enter patients, one or more patients, into the short call list. The screen looks like it has a lot of information, but the only three things you really have to worry about, because a bunch of defaults that usually are fine, is entering last name, first name, and cell number. That's it. So I'm going to go ahead and put my wife in here. Nope. Again, just enter the number, no hyphens or parentheses needed. And if I'm just entering these three, I can go ahead and use quick add to call list. I don't have to touch anything here. We'll talk about these later, but the defaults are usually fine. I'm going to go ahead and hit quick add to call list. And that patient's been entered into the call list. We can see a message up here that they've been added to the list. If I want to go ahead and view the entries, like right now, I could clear this out and enter a new patient in here. Or I can view my entries. When you're on these screens here, you'll see a link up here that lets you view all the entries that you've made, whether the call list or appointment entries. So I'm going to click View Entries, and there is the patient that I have just entered into the short call list. If I want to edit anything, you see there's a link. If I hover over their last name, I can click that, and I can change anything here I want. I can even go down here and change things if I want to. But that is the patient that was added. And again, I can go back and return to those entries. If I want to add another patient, I just go back to my short call list here, and it's ready for me to enter another patient. As far as these settings down here, if we do want to change something, let's say you have a patient that tells you when they're going to be available. Let's try that. I'll put myself in here. Let's see. Let's put 802. Okay. I'm going to add myself. But in this case, instead of just that information, let's say I want to change something here. Let's say I want to give this particular patient top priority. Well, the default is medium. I can go here and I can set priority anywhere from 0, which means do not contact them at all for some reason. If I want to put somebody sort of on a holding status and don't contact them, I can set it to 0. Low priority, medium, which is the default, or high, or contact first, which absolutely makes this. Or if you have several patients, obviously with the 10, it's going to put them at the very top, and so it's sort of by order here of priority. So if I want to contact this patient first, or at least be high on the list, I can set this to high. Then contact frequency. If you, let's say, tend to have a bunch of open appointments, maybe an open appointment each day. Maybe there are certain patients that for some reason you don't want to contact every day about an open appointment. So you can actually contact them every other day or every 4 days, maybe once a week. So this is a way, if you have some patients that you just don't want to, for some reason, let them know you have an open appointment each day, then you can have them contacted not every day, but every other day, or one of these categories here, maybe just once a month. So it just gives you some flexibility how often you might reach out to a patient that is available for an open appointment. And then here, send availability preferences link to patient. Typically, like when you just enter last name, first name, cell number, and do this quick add, it's going to go ahead and send them a text, and it basically has the name of your office, and it says that they're going to use this service to contact you about appointment availability, and it gives them a link to actually set their own availability preferences, and it gives them that option to set what I'm going to show you here actually. So typically you want to send them that link so that they can update their preferences. The only time you might not want to is, let's say you're putting in patients that you want to contact right away about an open appointment. So you're adding a patient, let's say you're adding multiple patients, and you're going to be sending appointment availability text through SwiftVisit shortly. Well, you might not want to send them 2 texts in a row. The first text when you enter them, and then the next text when you have an open appointment and you actually start contacting people through SwiftVisit about your open appointments. So that's the only time you really would probably want to uncheck that, is if you think they're going to be contacted right away because you're going to put in an open appointment or one or more open appointments and actually start contacting them. Otherwise, you'd leave that checked. Now, it also defaults to being available anytime. If a patient says, hey, I'm only available Thursday at after 3 p.m., you uncheck this, and now there's more options available, and there's even more depending on what we do. If a patient is available all weekdays after a certain time, then we could say, hey, all weekdays after 4 p.m. or 4:30 p.m. Or if they're not all weekdays and it's only a certain day of the week, you can uncheck this, and now you can pick what day of the week. So in this case, we said Thursdays. It's not Thursday all day, which we could just check that, but it's Thursday starting at 4 p.m., let's say, and ending at 11 p.m. Not that you're ever going to have office hours at 11 p.m., but at least the patient is available during that time frame. If you never put an appointment in for 10 p.m., of course it's never going to contact somebody, but it's just safe to maybe set 11 p.m. as the end date. So I'll go ahead and pick that. So now this patient is only available Thursdays after 4 p.m. Some patients, like teachers or somebody that has to schedule ahead of time, if you have an appointment available today, some patients just might need a day's notice. They aren't going to be able to take an appointment today. So what you can do, and the patient can change this information themselves as well, right on their phone. You can say, well, I really need 1 day notice or 2 days notice. If it's a patient that can be available on short notice, then just keep this set to 0 days. So here we are having one patient that's available Thursdays after 4 p.m. And this patient is not going to be contacted for any appointments that fall outside of these preferences. That's the whole point of SwiftVisit, is contacting the patients that are most likely available for an appointment. The other thing you can do, or the patient can do, is check this box, contact starting after this date. Let's say it's a college student that's coming home for the summer. Well, you can click this and put a date in here, and that date can be the date that they come home from college, or only available between 2 dates, and you can put a starting date and an ending date in here. And so it's a way to, again, if a college student is out on break, they'll only be contacted between these 2 dates. So these are kind of things that you can change for that patient. I'll go ahead and click add to call list, and now it's updated their information. If I go back into view entries, now you see I have 2 entries because I've added a second one, and this one, well, actually I added myself second. You can see I had changed the priority to 7 to a high instead of the default to medium, and if I went back in, I would see any other changes I made, like being available only Thursdays after 4 p.m. So that's how to enter patients into the short call list. Very easy. Again, most of them you just put last name, first name, and cell number, and SwiftVisit takes care of the rest. Next, we'll do open appointments. Okay, now that we've added some patients to the short call list, I'll show you how to add open appointments. So this is the short call list button that we were working with. Here's our short call list entries. I just click on the open appointment button, and it shows that I don't have any appointments open at this point. So this would be when you come in the morning and somebody has left a message, or you find out about an open appointment, or during the day, whenever you have an open appointment that you want to use SwiftVisit to start notifying patients about, you would click open appointments, and it's very easy to add a new appointment. So I'll just click on this button here. There's a calendar to the right. I click on that. Let's say I want to make it for tomorrow, Wednesday the 11th at 8 a.m. You can see here when I clicked 8 a.m. now it just gives me 2 choices during the 8 o'clock hour, 8 a.m. and 8:30, and that's because when I went into my account settings, and we talked about that earlier, you can set up how your appointments work. Do you have appointments just on the hour? If so, then you would have that be, you'd want to enter a 60. If you might have appointments on the hour and the half hour, which is how I have this set up now, you would put 30 in there, and that means that it will give you an option for every 30 minutes. So the more precise you get in your setting, the less options you'll have here, which is nice. If I put in 10 minutes, that you could have appointments at 8 a.m., 8:10, 8:20, 8:30, 8:40, 8:50, then you'd have all those different options here, and so there's just more that you have to hunt through to pick. So that's the advantage of setting the proper number of minutes between your appointments. Not between appointments, but when do you schedule appointments? If it's on the 10 minutes, on the 15 minutes, if it's on the hour or half hour, then again put in 60 or 30, and then you have less options here, and it just makes it easier. So I'm going to pick 8 a.m., add appointment to list, and I'm done. Gives a little message here. If I want to view the appointments I have added, I click on that, and there they are. I'll add another appointment. This time I'll make it for Thursday, 2 days in the future, the 12th, and I'll make it at 2 p.m. Okay, so now if I click on my list, we see that we have 2 cleaning appointments, which is how SwiftVisit is defaults to, and it shows the date and time here. If I want to edit an appointment, I can click on that, and I can change the date or time, again using the calendar. I can delete appointment from here, or I can cancel and return to the list. So now that I've got my open appointments, we want to go ahead and tell SwiftVisit to find what patients match what appointments depending on their availability preferences. So that's where you click on Show Short Call List Matches. If I click on this, it basically will run a process, basically an algorithm that determines what patients are the best match for what appointment. So if you remember back on our short call list, if I go back there, Well, first let's look at the appointment. We see that the 11th here at 8 a.m. it has selected my name here. For the 12th at 2 p.m. it's selected Sue. So if I had more patients in the call list, this might have the same appointment 5 times with 5 different patients that their availability preferences match the 8 a.m. appointment. And it might have several more patients under the 2 p.m. appointment that match that appointment. So the reason it picked me for 8 a.m. and Sue for 2, if you recall, if I go back into the short call list here and view entries and then look at my appointment availability preferences, I'm available anytime. Whereas if I look at Sue, we've said that she is available all weekdays after 2 p.m. So that's why when we go to the call list matches here, Sue wasn't a candidate for 8 a.m. because she has told us, or at one point or another, or she has set these preferences herself, which your patients can do right on their phone. She has said that she is only available weekdays after 2. And so she qualifies for the 2 p.m. appointment. Since I'm available anytime, I could have taken either appointment, but it will only pick a patient for one appointment. It won't have me, for example, showing in both. And that's basically because once you tell them about the appointment and they contact you if they're interested, you can go ahead and say, well, I have an 8 a.m. and a 2 p.m., for example. So you don't want to necessarily be texting them twice for 2 appointments, for example, that might be on the same day or not. That just, I think, wouldn't be necessarily a good practice. So I only list one patient per appointment, or I should say, one patient is not going to be shown under 2 appointments. It will only list a patient once on this screen here when it matches patients to appointments. So once this process is run, no communication has taken place yet. There's no text getting sent to the patients and so forth until you click on Begin Contacting. Once you do that, then that's where it will start at the top of the list and start working its way down. We have, if I go into the account here, into settings, and go to this section here, you can see patient contact delay is 2. So what that means is that it will start contacting the first patient and then it will wait 2 minutes before it contacts the next patient. Because chances are, once you enter a decent amount of patients in your call list, you'll have multiple patients that might get contacted for the same appointment. And so it will wait 2 minutes, in this case, to give the first patient a chance to reply, see if they take the appointment or not. Then after 2 minutes, it will reach out to the next patient. Once you mark them, and I'll show you that as they are contacted, but you can basically give this patient this appointment. If they have, you don't want to do this yet unless you've talked to them on the phone, for example, but once they express interest, the status will show that they've expressed interest, or it will have them call. SwiftVisit will give them a link to call right into the office, and then once you talk to them and give them the exact time of the appointment, then you can mark them as, you can set the status to give this patient this appointment. That will stop SwiftVisit from contacting any other patients about this appointment. So the 2-minute delay just gives the first patient or the next patient 2 minutes to get back in touch with you before SwiftVisit will contact the next client. You can set that down to 1 minute if you want to contact as many people as possible in a short period of time, Or you could set it to 10 minutes and give each patient 10 minutes to respond. The thing that will drive that decision mostly is how soon will your appointment occur. So if you have appointments, occurring this morning, then you'll probably want to set that to 1 minute or 2 at the most, so that you can, because the chances of the first patient you contact actually receiving that text and replying to it, and they could be driving, they could be doing something where they can't reply right away. So you don't want to wait too long before contacting the next patient. So we'll go ahead and click begin contacting, and this actually starts the process where, again, SwiftVisit will start with the first patient and move its way down, in this case every 2 minutes. So I'll click this. This right away shows that we have sent a text to SwiftVisit. And the patient will receive that text basically telling them that an appointment in this case is available for tomorrow morning. It will not give them the exact time. Some dentists do not prefer patients to be given the exact time because they're worried that some of their patients will actually not call in, and they'll just show up that next morning at whatever time they're given. So what we do is, if the appointment is before noon, it will say tomorrow morning. If the appointment is after 12 noon, it'll say, or 12 noon or later, it'll say tomorrow afternoon. If it's a couple days in the future, in this case it would say March 12th in the afternoon. Or again, if it was a morning appointment, it would give the date and then the time, or not the exact time, but the time of day, whether it's morning or afternoon. So basically, I've gotten a text because this is me, and I can reply on my phone. Now, I've been talking, so I didn't reply, so it's gone ahead and contacted the next patient. But I can go ahead on my phone and reply. I'll say I'm interested. And then that is when I'm given another text, and it gives me a link to call a number. I basically just touch the link, and it puts me through to your office. And then you can just talk to the patient and fill the appointment as usual. And again, what you want to remember to do then is, if they take the appointment, is to just one step to take here is give this patient this appointment. So if for some reason you have a patient that you didn't contact via SwiftVisit, but they've taken an appointment, you can go ahead and say appointment given outside SwiftVisit. Or you can cancel the appointment if for some reason you filled it or it became unavailable. You can cancel the appointment. Or you can actually remove this patient from this appointment. You can do this ahead of time before you start contacting people. And what that will do is remove that particular patient from this list, and it will contact all the other patients. That's just in case you see somebody show up that for some reason you don't want to be contacted. You can remove them from that particular appointment. To summarize again, and to give just a really quick rundown of the steps needed to use SwiftVisit, I'll go ahead and just do the whole process in one step to show how easy it is. In the short call list, I'll add a name. And I'll do a quick add. View my entries, see they're there. If I want to give this person again a specific time, if they're a college student, I'll say contact only between They're coming home for spring break, let's say March 16th to the 20th. That's the days they'll be available. Hit save entry. And now their preferences are such that they will not be contacted except during that time frame. I go to open an appointment here, add a new appointment, put it tomorrow, let's say at 3 p.m. And let's say I put one on March 17th at 8 a.m. I view my appointment list. I've got 2 appointments on the 11th at 3 p.m. and the 17th at 8 a.m. Go to my short call list matches. Now you'll see that my name, Chris Palmer, doesn't show up. That's because I took an appointment and SwiftVisit set me to inactive status, because once a patient takes an appointment, it is assumed that they are off the call list, the short call list, until you want to reactivate them. So again, you can go in to the short call list and you can reactivate a patient if it's 6 months later or however long they get cleaning. The next time they'll get a cleaning, that kind of thing. So they drop off the list once they're given an appointment so that you do not contact them again. SwiftVisit takes care of that. You don't have to make them inactive. As soon as you set a patient to give them an appointment, it makes them inactive, so it will not contact them again until they're made active. You can see Sue is a candidate for the 3 p.m. appointment. Her availability preferences are, again, I think after 2 p.m. on weekdays, so she qualifies. Max, this is the 17th, and so Max will be available during that time frame. I click Begin Contacting, and SwiftVisit goes through the process of contacting patients. They will call into the office if they're interested. SwiftVisit tells them what to do, and if they take the appointment, you just change their status to give this patient this appointment. Appointments taken by the patient, and no more patients will be contacted for that particular patient, that particular appointment that was taken. And it goes through, and when it's done contacting everyone, it will stop. And so right now there's no more patients to contact. It is basically waiting, and it will update if they text back and respond and so forth. And so that's all you have to do here. The only manual thing, once you hit, and I can cancel this if I want and then begin contacting. Once you click Begin Contacting, the only thing you have to do here is change the status if they've taken an appointment, or if that appointment has become unavailable, so that it was given outside of SwiftVisit, or canceling the appointment. These two basically do the same thing. They will stop contacting patients for this appointment. So that's the only thing you have to do, is just change that status if a patient takes an appointment, or if the appointment otherwise becomes unavailable. Once it's finished contacting, you don't even have to worry about an appointment becoming unavailable, because it won't try to contact anybody else if there's nobody else on the list. So that's SwiftVisit in a nutshell. Very simple to add patients to the call list, add open appointments whenever you want to start contacting people. Click on this to show the matches. You could even, if you wanted to, you could click on Show Short Call List Matches and just use this list to text people yourself or call them if for some reason you want to do that. But it certainly makes sense to let SwiftVisit do the contacting, so that you can go on with other work, and the patient will go ahead and call into the office, be directed by SwiftVisit to contact your office. You tell them about the appointment. If it works, you give them the appointment. Otherwise, you let SwiftVisit continue working to try to fill that appointment.